The Far East is an English term mostly describing East Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Russian Far East, with South Asia sometimes also included for economic and cultural reasons. The term came into use in European geopolitical discourse in the 12th century, denoting the Far East as the farthest of the three Easts, beyond the Near East and the Middle East. For the same reason, Chinese people in the 19th and early 20th centuries called Western countries Tàixī, that is anything further west than the Arab world. The term is less commonly used than in the past, as it allegedly connotes the Orientalism of the 19th century more explicitly than East Asia. Since the 1960s, terms like East Asia and the Orient have become increasingly common. East Asia remains the most common media term for the region today. Popularization: prior to the colonial era, Far East referred to anything further east than the Middle East. In the 1500s, King John III of Portugal called India a rich and interesting country in the Far East. The term was popularized during the period of the British Empire as a blanket term for lands to the east of British India. In pre-World War I European geopolitics, the Near East referred to the relatively nearby lands of the Ottoman Empire, the Middle East denoted northwestern South Asia and Central Asia, and the Far East meant countries along the western Pacific Ocean and eastern Indian Ocean. Many European languages have analogous terms, such as the French, Spanish, Portuguese, German, Italian, Polish, and Dutch. Cultural as well as geographic meaning. Significantly, the term evokes cultural as well as geographic separation. The Far East is not just geographically distant, but also culturally exotic. It never refers, for instance, to the culturally Western nations of Australia and New Zealand, which lie even further to the east of Europe than East Asia itself. This combination of cultural and geographic subjectivity was well illustrated in 1939 by Robert Menzies, the Prime Minister of Australia. Reflecting upon his country's geopolitical concerns with the onset of war, Menzies commented that the problems of the Pacific are different. What Great Britain calls the Far East is to us the Near North. Far East in its usual sense is comparable to terms such as the Orient, which means East. The Eastern world. Or simply the East. Southeast Asia, the Russian Far East, and occasionally the Indian subcontinent might be included in the Far East to some extent. Concerning the term, John K. Fairbank and Edwin O. Reischauer, professors of East Asian Studies at Harvard University, wrote, "When Europeans traveled far to the east to reach Cathay, Japan and the Indies, they naturally gave those distant regions the general name Far East. Americans who reached China, Japan and Southeast Asia by sail and steam across the Pacific could, with equal logic, have called that area the Far West. For the people who live in that part of the world, however, it is neither east nor west and certainly not far. A more generally acceptable term for the area is East Asia, which is geographically more precise and does not imply the outdated notion that Europe is the center of the civilized world. Today, the term remains in the names of some long-standing institutions, including the Far Eastern Federal University in Vladivostok, Far Eastern University in Manila, and the Far East University in South Korea. Furthermore, the United Kingdom and United States have historically used Far East for several military units and commands in the region: British Far East Command, RAF Far East Air Force, U.S. Far East Air Force, the U.S. Far East Network, territories and regions conventionally included under the term Far East. Cities. See also, adoption of Chinese literary culture, East Asia, East Asian cultural sphere, Far Eastern Economic Review, Four Asian Tigers, Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, Indosphere, Russian Far East, South Asia, Southeast Asia, Spanish East Indies, Y-DNA haplogroups by populations of East and Southeast Asia, notes. References, Ankel, Guy. Coexisting Contemporary Civilizations, Arabo-Muslim, Bharati, Chinese, and Western. Geneva, INU Press. ISBN 2-88155-004-5. Whitaker, Brian. From Turkey to Tibet. The Guardian.